Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Tuesday Training. I hope you're having a fantastic week. As always,
we are live from Austin, Texas, right here at Insurance Syndicate headquarters, and man, we have a great show for you.
Good morning, good morning. It keeps defaulting to that goofy view. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. It is a beautiful Tuesday morning here, and man, we're getting ready for a big week. We got lots of traveling to do this week, all kinds of stuff going on. So super, super excited. Not sure why this isn't popping up live for me, but hopefully you guys can see me, hear me. If you can see and hear me, drop it in the comments for me. There we are. Now I'm seeing it. It's technology, man. It's got this old guy just, I'm not doing as well as I used to with it. But I appreciate you guys tuning in, man. We are, like I said, we're up for a big week. I'm going to be traveling this week. I'm headed out to Tupelo, Mississippi to go hang out with my buddy, Mr. Justin Brock, for his Behind the Agency event. I've been wanting to go to this event for quite a while, but haven't had a chance to. Other events conflicting and all kinds of other stuff. But now I have the shot, and I'm going to go out there and have a darn good time hanging out with him. But other than that, I wanted to talk to you guys real quick a little bit about DFY. Obviously, this show is sponsored by DFY. They're part of what makes this show possible. I use DFY. It's my preferred CRM, and I was in there messing around with my new WebbyChat webinar platform that is absolutely, legitimately badass. And even if you're not a DFY user, you can get access to WebbyChat because it is simply a tool or plugin that any Go High level user can get access to. You just got to buy it. It's only $40 a month. As a DFY user, you get it for free. But basically, dude, this thing I won't say automates your webinar, but it pretty much does. But it's basically your webinar, right? Your whole slideshow, presentation, video, whatever you're doing, you can pre-record. And then it has a chat window, right? That your people can chat with each other while they're watching the webinar, or you can chat with them and answer their questions, or you can have predetermined pop-ups at certain times that you want it to appear. So, for example, during segments of our webinar, when we're talking about Medicare supplement products, for example, we pop up a call to action in that chat window. Hey, are you ready for information on Medicare supplement plan? Do you need a quote for Medicare supplement? Click here, call here, right? All of that stuff. So I finally got it fully built out. We are hoping to actually put it in play today. It took me a little bit to get it going with everything we have going on here, but we got it done, and I'm hoping to get it launched today. So I will definitely keep you guys in the loop on it as it rolls. But thanks again for tuning in. And if you are looking for some information on an excellent CRM, just give them a call over at DFY. With that said, man, I've got some news for you guys that I want to jump into, chat with you about a little bit. There's a lot going on in the world of insurance in general. While I don't have any slides to share for these first couple of items, if you're an agent out there in the Medicare space, you probably already know. You probably already got an email or got a notice or saw a Facebook post that's out there in the last week of a couple of big things. Number one, United Healthcare is no longer paying commissions on new PDP business. That's another one, right? We already know WellCare said, hey, no more commissions on PDP business. And not only did they say new business, they said even your renewals, we're keeping that shit too. Wild. My understanding of the United Healthcare one is it is just new business. You're still getting your renewals. Kind of like how SilverScript did it with Aetna when they sold that block off to acquire the previous WellCare block, as I remember, if I remember all those moving parts correctly. They said, hey, we're not going to pay you new commissions on SilverScript business at that time, but we will continue to pay renewals. Cigna obviously has reduced comp on their PDPs, and we certainly know that Humana does. I think United Healthcare coming out and saying that no commissions for PDPs is maybe a little bit of a shocker. I'm not sure. I don't know that anybody expected it of all carriers for them to say, hey, no, we're not going to pay comp on PDPs, but 100% they are not paying comp on PDPs going forward. So I've had a lot of questions, or I've seen a lot of questions from agents in the group saying, well, hey, man, if these companies aren't paying us on PDP business anymore, like, how are you going to manage that as an agent? It's like, well, I don't build my business. Let's just start with that context. I don't build my business with the idea that I'm going to go out and write a whole bunch of PDP business and make, $109 pretty much max commission on them. Like, I'm not real interested in that. My business is built based on Medicare Advantage products, Medicare supplement plans, hospital indemnity, final expense, cancer, short-term care. PDPs are just a product. Dental and vision, another one in there. Now we have a travel product, right? PDPs are just something that's in there. Is it nice to get paid on them? 100%. And as I've talked about this before, like, I feel really bad for some of my friends, especially in the WellCare debacle, who had massive books of WellCare business and got it all yanked away from them. Like, totally feel for you on that. We were in a fortunate position here that we didn't have that big a book of business, because almost 95% of our business here, at least in our direct to consumer division, is Medicare Advantage plans. And that's not necessarily by design. That is what our customer base chooses, because we do tend to go after a lower income group of people. Also, not necessarily by design. It's just the market that we work tends to be the averages. So with that said, like, I understand that people getting upset about the PDP business and so forth. So a couple of questions that popped up. People are saying, like, hey, how are you going to handle this? Well, the way I look at it is, if I have a client that's on a PDP, then they damn well better be on a Medicare supplement plan, and it better be with me. Like, I'm not in the business just to go write standalone PDPs and that's it. Hey, here's your Part A and your Part B and a Part D plan, and good luck on managing that 20% co-insurance that Medicare gives you. No. We're not playing that game. So I have it very frank. If you have your Medicare supplement plan with me, with my team, we will service your PDP for you. No big deal. It's not that hard. Like, let's be honest. If you're an agent out there, with the tools that we have today, it's not that difficult to collect the information, put it into Sunfire or any of the other platforms, Medicare.gov, let it spit out an answer, and go write the app. Like, give me a break. And if it's a repeat client of yours, you should already have most of that information anyway. So it's just confirming that, hey, I want to make sure I still have all the right drugs in your medicine cabinet. Have any of these changed? Do you got any new ones? Cool. Hit run. Boom. Top plan comes up. Boom, bang, pow. It's written. Like, for agents that are hyper complaining about this, I get it. Now, if you have a massive book of PDPs and you're having to service all that, and you understand it's zero commission, again, that starts to become problematic, right? So the way we have addressed it is that, number one, you have to be our Medicare supplement client first. If you are, we will service your PDP. If you are not our Medicare supplement client, we will very politely tell you that, unfortunately, these insurance companies have made it impossible for us as brokers to service your drug plans, and because they choose not to pay us. Just flat tell them that. Like, you're allowed to tell them stuff like that. I mean, if you're required to tell them how you get paid, you can certainly tell them when you're not getting paid. So just tell them flat, hey, these insurance companies have made it impossible for us to now run our business and help you on your PDP because they're not paying us. And I can't afford to run a 501c3 or a charity here. So I'm going to show you very simply how you can run your own PDP at Medicare.gov or using my Sunfire platform, right? And then boom, go do it yourself, enroll, piece of cake, right? But if you have your MedSup with me, I'm happy to help you with your PDP. Granted, we do our best to automate that as much as possible, and that's going to be a big test for us. I will say it will be a test as we get close to October or AAP this year, because we're going to have to reach out. Again, we don't have a massive database of PDP clients. Most of our clients, by and large, are MAPD. But for our PDP folks, pretty simple. We're just going to put a campaign together, send them Retire Flow, had them put on their drugs. We're going to send them Sunfire's Pearl as well to try to encourage them to shop them on their own. But if they need help and they're our MedSip client, we'll definitely take care of them. I think that is for me, I think that's the fairest way to tackle that issue. So that is news bit number 1. I'm going to get the news bit number 2 in a minute. The one that I mentioned, I don't have a slide for, but we will get there. A couple of things I want to jump on real quick. Let me share this on the screen. Bear with me just a second. CMS is soliciting public feedback to help Medicare beneficiaries. Now, I am not the type of guy that will normally come and shit on your parade and tell you that the sky is falling. But I'm also trying to think about things very objectively on our industry and where we're headed, right? And I am still very bullish on where we're headed, even as independent agents and brokers. I definitely think we got plenty of time to make hay while the sun shines. But this here says CMS solicits public feedback for help Medicare beneficiaries. The organization is seeking feedback on how to best advance digital health to empower seniors using technology while reducing administrative burdens and improving interoperability. Right. So Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services and the Assistant Secretary for Technology Policy, Office of the National Coordinator for Health Information Technology, are asking for public input on how to best promote a seamless, safe, patient-centered digital health infrastructure for Medicare. According to CMS, the aim is to unharness the power of modern technology to help seniors and their families take charge of their health and well-being and manage chronic conditions and access care. CMS's request for information is seeking feedback from patients, caregivers, providers, payers, tech developers, and other stakeholders. I wonder what they define as a stakeholder. I don't think that would include insurance agent. On how CMS and those departments can, this is the first one, drive the evolution and embrace of digital health management and care navigation applications. So they're talking at provider care level there, right? Boost interoperability and safeguard access to health data via an open standards-based technology. So again, they're talking about using tech and AI at the provider level, right? So that to capture more data, more accurate data, so that they can increase standards, basically, on how well they're providing access to healthcare. Point out barriers preventing the seamless exchange of health insurance information across systems. Makes sense, right? Coordinated care needs better interoperability, to better communication between those providers. Got to get rid of those old school chart systems, right? I don't know. Lower administrative red tape while at the same time hastening progress toward value-based patient-centered care. So again, as I've said many times, here is again that reinforcement of pushing value-based centered care. And I don't have anything against value-based care. I think it is the future personally. We are building a future where seniors and families have the digital tools they need at their fingertips that help them make informed decisions, manage chronic conditions, and stay healthy. Pretty simple. That was Stephanie Carlton, CMS Chief of Staff and Deputy Administrator, said. The government must be a catalyst, not a barrier to unleashing American innovation in healthcare. So take that with what you will. Obviously, they're pushing that in the angle of access, care, interoperability between departments and providers and so forth, and organizations, so that they can better care for patients. Underlying, I also see the user experience from seniors on there, right, which is going to help give them more information, more tools that they need to enroll themselves in healthcare. Not that they probably should be. Not that they probably should be, right? Drop that in the comments. So that's one thing. If you want to give them feedback, pardon me for a second. Where did they drop it? It was right in here. Oh, through June 16th. So you got about 4 weeks, 3 weeks. They didn't tell us where. I assume you can just go to the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, find the contact, reference this if you want to make any comments on, again, they're putting this towards patient access. Moving along, before we get to something a little bit bigger, in my opinion. This is a good one here. So this is from the American Medical Association. There's a budget bill that ties Medicare physician payment update. They want to tie it 75% to MEI, which is the Medicare Economical Index, right? So pretty simple here. This is actually what, and I'm not going to go through this whole article. I can tell you pretty simply, this ends up being just an increase in physician payments and hospital payments under original Medicare is what that really ties to, right? Says physician practices right here have faced 33% loss in purchasing power since 2001, severely straining their sustainability. Dr. Madara wrote that to the House Energy and Commerce Committee, sorry. Congress has adopted several temporary physician payment updates to help address steep pay cuts that took effect starting in 2021, but each of these updates led to a steep cliff as the payment update expired and reverted to reduced payment rates as if there had been no legislative provision at all, he says. The committee's proposed update for 2026 is 75% of MEI, which again is the Medicare Economical Index. He says that this would be significantly higher than any of the annual physician payment updates through MACRA. It has been decades since Medicare physician payment updates were linked to the MEI, and the AMA, American Medical Association, strongly supports it. Jumping down here real quick, this little paragraph is of interest. It says that decades of falling Medicare physician payments have coincided with a big drop in the sustainability of independent physician practice. While 61% of physicians were practice owners in 2001, by 2016, less than half had ownership stakes in their practices, and physician employees have outnumbered physician practice owners since 2018. So again, why? Look at the long-term, and I talk about this a lot, long-term effects, right? They've been dropping payments to physicians and providers under original Medicare. They've been incentivizing providers and doctors in the Medicare Advantage and value-based care world based on health outcomes, star ratings, et cetera, et cetera. What groups are independent physician practices doing those MAs? Probably not. Those are big network, right? Those are corporate network driven providers, just like it's saying in this article, right? It's not the independent practice physician owned practice. It's the big agency type owned practices. So that's kind of been one of the overarching themes. They're talking about it since 2021, but it goes back further. Like you can go back and look at legislation that shows payment cuts to under original Medicare to providers. I want to say the first one was around 2014. Or 2001 maybe. I might be a little off on that. I don't have it in front of me. But you can go back, and I promise y'all, I will go back in history and pull that back up for you guys and show it to you. Just haven't had a chance to put it together. Been traveling, about to do some more traveling. Moving on. I want to keep y'all up to date on this one as well. This was the big topic that we talked about last week, right? We talked about the Trump DOJ accusing Medicare Advantage insurers of paying kickbacks. And this is from Kaiser Family Foundation. I tend to believe Kaiser is a very legitimate, excellent source of news. They have amazing information in regards to statistics and all kinds of stuff. So when I saw this article, I wanted to see a little bit what their take was, see what updates they had. Because as you may remember, this article or this lawsuit, was dropped on May 1st. And they just put this article out May 19th, yesterday. So if you haven't heard, if you live under a rock, on May 1st, right, the Trump Department of Justice dropped a lawsuit on Elevance, used to be called Anthem, Aetna and Humana, along with eHealth, GoHealth, and SelectQuote, saying that they are getting kickbacks for driving certain types of business to those carriers. More specifically, kickbacks to drive away, I should say, clients with disabilities, and don't put them with us, Aetna, Elevance, and Humana. And if you do that, we'll shell out some more money for you. Obviously, you're not allowed to steer. So they're claiming that they're breaking the False Claims Act, but it's certainly also a CMS violation as well. So want to jump into a little bit of what Kaiser has to say about it to get you up to speed. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but what I wanted to go through was some case examples that they were using in regards to this situation, right? The steering. They brought some anecdotal examples of beneficiaries, right? And what kind of has happened to them in this process, so to speak. So bear with me a second. I'll just start off right here. The DOJ lawsuit is likely to add to the debate over the role of the private sector in Medicare, with vivid details often drawn from internal emails among key insurance brokerage employees. The case alleges that brokers knew that Aetna, for example, saw the payments as a shortcut to increase sales instead of attracting beneficiaries through policy improvements or other legitimate avenues. One eHealth executive in 2021 instant message exchange with colleagues that is cited in the lawsuit allegedly said incentives were needed because the plans themselves fell short. I quote, "More money will drive more sales because your product is dog shit." Tell us how you really feel, eHealth executive. The DOJ case focuses on large insurance brokerages, right, which often rely on national marketing efforts, yada, yada, yada. Let's get back to it. Here we go. First one up, a cancer patient, for example, was switched from the original Medicare program into a private sector managed care plan by a large brokerage firm, according to the lawsuit, only to get hit with $17,000 in ongoing treatment costs that would have been covered without that charge or without that change. Another person calling for free advice later discovered she had been enrolled without permission into a plan with a different insurer than she had previously chosen. Meanwhile, people with disabilities looking to enroll in private sector Medicare Advantage plans had their calls ignored or rerouted by systems designed to weed out disabled people, especially if they were under 65, the lawsuit alleges. That's because the insurers knew disabled beneficiaries usually cost more to cover, and those without medical problems than those without medical problems. Obviously, Medicare plans are not allowed to discriminate against people with disabilities or anybody else for that matter. Still, private insurers are allowed to offer commissions to brokers or not. So that's a good question. Private insurers are allowed to offer commissions to brokers or not. So could they, because I'm going to look at the Medicare supplement side for a second. The federal organization that is Medicare comes up with the rules of the Medicare supplement plans in regards to benefits. The different state departments of insurance manage those Medicare supplement plans in regards to their rate increases and how they have to pay commissions, right? They're the ones, the state department of insurance for those Medicare supplement plans are the ones that come up with, you have to pay X number of years level, right? Or yada, yada, or you have to pay under this rule or this birthday rule, you're allowed to withhold or whatever the situation may be, right? So for example, in Colorado, right? Colorado is a state that offers Medicare supplement plans to people under age 65. It's one of, I think, about 17 or 18 states that do that. As I remember, in Colorado, they offer all Medicare supplement plans. Whatever a carrier offers, he has to also offer an under 65 rate to the disabled people. They're not allowed to increase the premiums on those people that are under 65. Just follow my thought process here. They can choose to pay or reduce commissions. I think actually in Colorado, they're not even allowed to reduce comp on people under 65. I might be wrong. South Carolina, I believe, same thing. If you write someone that's under 65, they're not allowed to jack up the rate and discriminate against those people because they're disabled, knowing that they're coming with more claims, use the rate to offset it. And I think they still require them to pay full commission on them. So what I'm expanding out here is, could a Medicare Advantage company come back and say, now I guess they can't because we can't underwrite them in the first place. So how would they say, no, I guess it would be based on their age, say that we will no longer pay commissions for people under 65? That would be a state regulation, I think, or I guess it would be a federal regulation in this case because it's under the Medicare Advantage program, not Medicare Supplement. Because certain states do allow that in the Medicare Supplement world, right? Like in Texas, they only require Medicare Supplement carriers to offer Plan A for under 65, and they don't care if they pay them commissions or not. I think they're required to at least pay them $25 or something. I'm not sure. So that part varies by state. I was thinking in my brain, I was trying to think that out. Can they pull that off in the Medicare Advantage world as well? But essentially, that's what they're accusing Anthem, Aetna, and Humana of doing, of basically incentivizing eHealth, GoHealth, and SelectQuote of, if you won't write your disabled people with us, if you'll send them all to United Healthcare, send them all to Devoted, send them all to WellCare, Molina, whatever, don't send them to us. We will line your pockets a little more. Here's a statement that's a little wild too. And this is some of the stuff that I hate how they frame this, because they really paint us to look like absolute crooks when they make dumbass statements like this. The allowed commission rates, talking about Medicare Advantage plans, have risen to a maximum in the low 600s per person. Not a lie there. These amounts are higher than what brokers earn if a client enrolls in original Medicare, buys a supplemental drug plan, for which the commission is capped at 109. Well, yeah. And as a matter of fact, that's not even true, because shit, we're not even getting paid for supplemental drug plans anymore for most carriers. But if you're not an idiot, you understand that's not what we're doing. We're either writing them a Medicare Advantage plan or we're writing them a Medicare Supplement plan. And yes, I know Medicare Supplements still pay less than MAPD, but they don't pay 109. A good one's going to pay you $300 to $350, depending on what you're writing and what state you're in, which is the renewal rate for an MAPD anyway. So I hate when these uneducated, almost said it, people make dumb statements like that and paint they do it for a reason, man. We know that, right? They're trying to paint an angle. Some policy experts say that pay structure alone, aside from any of the allegations in the lawsuit, creates an uneven playing field between the private sector plans and the original program. Absolutely. Going on, and this is a good piece for us. It's not my intent to paint all agents and brokers with the same brushstroke. There are significant financial incentives to steer people towards Medicare Advantage in general. While brokers can be helpful in sorting out the complexities, other options are available. Lipschutz, that's an unfortunate name when it's mispronounced, isn't it? Suggested that consumers seek information from their federally funded state health insurance assistance program, which can advise beneficiaries about Medicare options, are not affiliated with the insurers and don't receive commissions. Well, good for them. They also don't have to do AHIP or any of the other certifications or even have a fucking license in the first place. Pardon my language. So there's that one. I'm going to get that in the group for you guys. Like I said, I'm going to continue to follow this lawsuit as best I can, among many of the other things that are going on in our industry. But our industry is wild right now. There is stuff happening on every side. Couple of other pieces I mentioned before I bring up the next thing that I'm going to leave you guys with. Before I get to that, which isn't a Medicare thing, so I want to buckle your seatbelt for it. It is an insurance thing, though, and maybe you've seen it, maybe you haven't, but we will definitely go over it. But before I get to that, our industry's going crazy, right? Whether you're in the general line, what do they call it? Personal lines, P&C space, right? Auto and home insurance. We're seeing home rates go up like crazy in different areas. State Farm just rebid their request to increase home insurance rates in California about 30%. We're seeing a lot of that going on. We're seeing carriers pull out of different states. Like that is still happening in some areas. Like we're seeing a little bit of recovery in some spots, according to my buddy Joe, but like still, it's problematic. Same thing going on in the Medicare world, man. We've got Medicare supplement carriers that are exiting the business. Allstate just announced they are exiting the business. You may have heard that recently, right? First, they dropped commissions. That was, I think, the first announcement they made maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. And then they came right behind it and said, well, we're not only just dropping commissions, we're out. We're exiting the Medicare supplement business. Happens a lot, man. I've been in this business for almost 22 years, always in the Medicare space for the most part, right? I had a stint in the cancer treatment product space first. But Medicare supplements have always been my jam. And in the old days, 2004, 5, 6, 7, 8, when writing Medicare supplements, like you knew that whoever had the cheapest rate was going to take the biggest increases, right? Whoever had the lowest rate in the marketplace was going to be the carrier that took the biggest increases. Most of the time, that was pretty spot on. And I remember long ago, like there weren't that many products. Like when I got in the business in 04 and 05 selling Medicare supplements, there was United Healthcare, which we didn't have an access to back then. You had to be a United Healthcare captive agent or career agent to get that product. There was Blue Cross, which mostly same thing. It was hard to get Blue Cross depending on the state that you were in, right? Because they're different in every state. There was Mutual Omaha, which is the primary one that independent brokers sold. And then there were a couple of smaller carriers. Sterling Life would pop up. Royal Neighbors was out there. New Era had a product back then. And United Teacher Associates. Those were kind of the smaller ones. And then it was a few years later, we started to see bigger brands entering the market. We started to see Cigna coming in, right? Many years later, we see Humana come in with their own MedSup. United Healthcare opens up to all the independent brokers, this giant evolution. And then obviously in 2014, we saw Medicare Advantage plans just pop off and start skyrocketing. And in that same token, we've seen Medicare supplement rates move up, but not at a gross rate. Like from 2014 to 2020, Medicare supplement rates were pretty chill if you knew what you were doing. Sure, you could go write the product that you knew was out there just buying up rates, right? Buying up business. And you're going to see a massive rate increase. We saw that trends on F were higher than on G, and G were higher than on N, right? We saw a lot of that stuff, which was pretty standard, but it's getting, now that 2020 to 2025, Medicare supplement rate trends have gone berserk. And we're seeing companies come in that are flash in the pan deals. That's always been a thing, I should say. Flash in the pan deals has always been a thing. Really started in around 2014, in my opinion. As Medicare Advantage started to take off, all of these Medicare supplement carriers swooped in and pushed to grow that market and get their piece of the pie. And it went from being maybe 8 to 10 Medicare supplement carriers to even pick from to now, and depending on the state that you live in, like in Texas, I think there's 60 or 65 Medicare supplement carriers. So there's like 60 different carriers that offer Plan F or Plan G or Plan N. It's wild. And now 20 to 2025, whether it's the backlog of utilization that COVID created by putting everybody in lockdowns and preventing them from going to elective surgeries, I don't think it's just that, though. I mean, I would think we have caught up to that already. Maybe I'm wrong. But that's a big part of it that they're always blaming, is now there's this overutilization because we have all the people that are just aging in and bringing claims anyway. But then we have this backlog of people that were holding off on elective surgeries for 18 months, maybe 2 years before they decided to come back around. And that's what's causing these rate increases. So Allstate pulled out. If you hadn't already heard, you know that. ACE is backed by Chubb Limited. Chubb Limited is A++ rated. That is the highest rating you can get from AM Best in the Medicare supplement world or insurance world. They pulled their product, right? And they're introducing a new one. Well, we all know what kind of usually happens when you pull a new product, or you pull a product and put a new one out there in the Medicare supplement world. Usually you're going to see some rate trends go up, higher rate increases. If you haven't seen the first round of announcements from ACE on their Medicare supplement rate increases, buckle up, Buttercup. I hope you didn't write a ton of business with that product. I wrote a good handful, and I'm just going to have to deal with it when the time comes. We're looking at 28 to 40% rate increases on ACE Medicare supplement. I haven't seen every state yet. I haven't seen them all. I've only seen a couple, but it's ugly. So buckle your seatbelts. So again, like my statement there is just the trends on Medicare supplement, the rates are continuing to go up. Again, as I talked about last week, you got more and more carriers that are going, or more and more states, that are now going to the birthday rule, which is again going to drive up rates. We have another big increase coming to Medicare Advantage. This is going to be a wild and woolly AEP coming up this year, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be a big MAPD year again. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I do feel like there is a lot of hesitancy in the marketplace on the consumer side. I think there's a lot of people that are 65 years old that would probably like to retire and just jump over to Medicare, but they're still working. They're still getting group benefits. They're still feeling secure, whereas anything otherwise would feel very unsecure in this turmoil that we're going through. I should say a lot of us are going through. But if that's not bad enough, man, if the insurance industry is not getting bad enough in regards to and I'm not saying the insurance industry is bad. I'm not, but we get a bad look sometimes, right? And you don't have to go far in the news to find information that paints the insurance industry bad, where it's the Trump DOJ that is suing 3 of the largest Medicare Advantage insurers and the 3 largest e-health brokers that are out there. There's numerous articles on Medicare Advantage, upcoding and lawsuits and foul practices. You hear about agents in the ACA and in the Medicare space that are auto-flipping people's plans without their permission, violating their rights. You hear about all of the rate trends that are going on in the P&C space. And I know as agents, especially as independent agents, a lot of us like to think of ourselves as like that rogue do-gooder that is out there. We're fighting with the insurance companies to make sure that our clients get what they need, get the product that they need issued, get the claims they need paid. A lot of us are fighting with the government to try to lobby for better health law, for better insurance law in general, so that we can better take care of our beneficiaries, so that we can fight for our own living and make sure we're getting paid. And then, if you guys haven't seen this, I'm going to leave you guys with this video that I want you to check out. It is it's pretty wild. If you haven't seen this already, basically, it's in regards to fraudulent practices. This is for the P&C space, but check this out.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vitale. Thanks to all of the witnesses. We'll now have some rounds of questioning. I will start, and let me start with you, Ms. Miguel. So it's September 27th, 2024. Hurricane Helene hits Georgia, hits your home, causing very significant damage. I think we've got a picture of some of the damage here. Let's have a look. Does this look pretty familiar to you?
It does.
It looks pretty severe. I mean, that's a massive tree right there in the front part of your home, and you're an Allstate policyholder. Is that correct?
Correct.
And Allstate sends out an adjuster. You said pretty quickly, just a moment ago. Is that
about
correct?
3 weeks after?
Oh, well, that's not very quick. Okay, 3 weeks after. All right, and that.
I want to be really clear. I'm not trying to make Allstate look bad, right? I have nothing against Allstate. I know I just said that they pulled out of the Medicare supplement business because truthfully, they have no business being in there. But just more bad news about the insurance industry. Take this with what you want.
You were told at the time in this first inspection verbally that the adjuster agreed with you this was very severe damage. Is that fair to say?
Correct.
I think we maybe have a second picture. Let's look at another view of this just to give a real impression. Here's a breezeway that looks to be nearly completely destroyed. You can see some of that roof damage, quite extensive, that you were talking about in your testimony. All of this looks familiar to you, I'm sure.
Yes.
Now, after this first adjuster agrees with you that yes, there's very significant damage. What did Allstate, when they finally came back with an actual assessment, a real number, what was that number again?
$46,000.
$46,000. So you went to considerable expense on your own. You hired your own independent adjuster to come back out and do all of this over again. And that person, looking at all of this evidence, that person found that the damage was in the neighborhood of what?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, how your independent adjuster, how much did that person estimate the damage was?
$497,000.
$497,000. Allstate offered you 40, basically.
Correct.
And you're still waiting for this process to be resolved all this time later. Is
Just wait. It gets better.
that right?
That's right.
Let me just ask you now, Mr. Schroeder, because you were that first adjuster who worked for Allstate who came out to look at this home. You were a field adjuster deployed for Allstate through Pilot Catastrophe. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
And you were the first one to inspect Ms. Miguel's home after the hurricane. Is that right?
Yeah.
And you went in person, I think. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you spent several hours, Ms. Miguel said in her testimony a moment ago, you spent several hours doing a very thorough inspection. Is that your memory also?
Yeah, that's correct.
And how serious would you say the damage was in your own, just your personal recollection?
Extremely, probably the most serious that I saw on this deployment.
Wow, the most serious that you saw on the deployment, which makes sense given these photos. So you start, if I understand correctly, you start to prepare an estimate for a full replacement of this breezeway right here. Does that sound right?
Yeah, that's correct.
But then you were instructed, you were told by the higher ups, no, we're not going to do a full replacement of the breezeway. So only do an assessment for a partial replacement of the breezeway. Is that correct?
Yes, that's
Okay,
correct.
so then you start working on that, and you're working to get as big of a damage claim as you can for Ms. Miguel in line with the fact.
I'm not a PNC agent. I'm not trying to make PNC agents look bad. I'm not trying to make Allstate look bad. But drop it in the comments. Tell me what you think. Brian Moore says, hey, no, that's BS. No way that's a $400,000+ claim. It don't look like 46,000 either, though. It doesn't look like 46,000. But what I want you to hear this gentleman's comments as the adjuster.
After you've already been told, no, we're not going to do the full thing. And then before you can even complete your work, you're taken off the case. Is that right?
Yes.
Why do you think that happened?
I was told it was due to time I was taking too long, but I don't believe that is the case. I think that Allstate saw from this and my recently prior estimates of being very thorough and complete and going back and forth with reviewers on coverage that it was going to be a higher estimate and it would be more cost effective to reassign it to an adjuster that would listen better.
Yeah, an adjuster who would lowball the policyholder. Really, I mean that's what we're talking about. You're removed from the case. They took 3 weeks to send you out to begin with, and then all of a sudden, boom, you're removed. Once it looks like you're actually going to do some justice for Ms. Miguel. Let me just ask you more broadly, Mr. Schroeder, have you ever been told to change estimates to reduce payouts?
Yeah, frequently.
And when you've pushed back on this, if you've ever said no, what happens then?
If I say no, then the claims typically get reassigned due to, they say, either lack of compliance or other reasons like I'm taking too long.
In your experience, was this kind of thing a one-off thing or was this a pattern?
This was definitely a pattern.
Is it fair to say then that Allstate's priority in your experience was not getting the best possible award for their clients, it was in protecting their bottom line?
Certainly in protecting their bottom line, yeah.
Mr. Milliken, let me just come to you because you were then yet another adjuster in this same case sent out to look at Ms. Miguel's property. You worked as a field adjuster for Allstate through Pilot Catastrophe for about 8 years. Do I have that right?
At least 8 years, yes.
Yeah. In that time, you have personally inspected hundreds of properties damaged after storms and disasters. Is that fair to say?
Thousands.
Thousands. And you're trained to determine the extent and cause of the damage and how much it costs to repair it. Is that fair to say?
Yes, sir.
All right. So let me just ask you about Ms. Miguel's claim. You were assigned to re-inspect her home. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And you testified earlier that you went about that diligently. You could see that there was very extensive damage. That was your initial impression. Is that fair to say?
Yes, sir.
And you reviewed all of the reports. There was an engineer's report by this time. There was the public adjuster's report. You reviewed all of those things diligently. Is that fair to say?
Yes, sir.
When you submitted your report to Allstate recommending several $100,000 worth of payments to Ms. Miguel and her husband, what happened then?
My estimate was rejected, and I was advised to alter it to a lower figure.
So you were told to alter the estimate and to alter your findings as well?
I was told to alter my estimate. I don't know that the findings was told to be altered.
Were the alterations that you were told to make, were those consistent with your own review of the property and your own assessment of the damage?
No, no, sir.
Did you write that up in a detailed estimate, what you were told to do?
I did, yes, sir.
And Allstate then, they send that estimate ultimately to the property owner, is that correct?
I'm obligated to send the estimate to the policyholder.
And is there any record anywhere the policyholder would ever know that your initial findings, your recommendations were rejected and somebody told you to come in and alter them?
No, sir.
Let me just ask you more broadly. Have you ever been told in other cases with Allstate to alter or delete your findings?
Absolutely.
In fact, you testified just a second ago, I think, that you were frequently asked to alter factual findings, delete material, and sometimes include items that were false. Did I hear you correctly when you said that?
Yes, sir.
In the overwhelming majority of cases where you were asked to do something like this, did that cause the estimate to the policyholder to go up or to go down?
To go down.
What is your assessment of what Allstate's ultimate goal here is? Is it to pay out the policy according to the terms of the policy to the best extent they can, or is it to protect their bottom line and to use you and your report as necessary to meet that end, to make sure they make as much money as possible?
100% to use me to enable them to make as much money as possible.
Well, make your own opinions about it. Again, I'm not a PNC agent. I found that a little wild to hear claims adjusters sit up there and say, no. We've been asked several times that to reduce, right, our estimate. And if we don't reduce it, they yank us off the case and put someone that's more compliant on there, so to speak. So, I mean, I'm not picking on the PNC space, man. Dude, I bring up news articles all the time. We got a big lawsuit going on against three of the biggest insurers. United Healthcare just got hammered with upcoding problems. Their stock is tanking right now, right? So there's all kinds of issues going on both sides of the fence, whether you're in the PNC space or in the life and health space. And again, here we sit as the independent agents trying to do the right thing, trying to fight and with, trying to make sure that we get the consumers the best thing they need. We have to fight the insurance companies. We got to fight the government, and we certainly got to fight rogue, fraudulent brokers. So, again, my aim there was not to try to paint our industry terrible. I love this industry. I've been in it for 21 years, right? I'm not going anywhere. It's just wild. And I'm sure this is how it's always been at some level. Just now there's more information. Now it's easier to find out when people are doing wrong, etc. So take that with a grain of salt if you want. Have yourself a great week. I am headed up to Tupelo for Behind the Agency. And then, next week, next week, buckle up, Buttercup. May 27th, Tuesday training right here at 9 a.m. We are duking it out. I've got two agents. I'm going to announce it here shortly and promote it for you. I got two agents coming on for a professional, keyword professional, debate on two philosophies in the life insurance space. Do I buy term and invest the rest? Or do I get an IUL or whole life and do some infinite banking work? Which one's the right way? We have one guy on the left corner, if you will, that says it's always term and invest the rest. It's never anything else. And we have another guy that says, hey, term has its place, but these other concepts could be bigger money makers for you. That is coming up next week. Stay tuned. We're going to bring that one out for you. Until then, have a great week. We'll see you next week for the big life insurance debate on Tuesday training. Thanks.